Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Talk Podcast. I hope you all are doing well. I just arrived and I'm so motivated. I really want to do another episode. And this actually, I took a look about, let me not lie, maybe 20 minutes in already. But I wanted to go back and start from beginning. No, we are not going to watch all of it together because it's over 2 hours. For those who want to take a look, it's the Diary of a CEO. I do not need to, promote this channel because I know it's well known, right? A lot of people know it. It has hit almost 10 million followers. I guess on YouTube you say subscribers. So it's quite a big channel. It has entertaining people, like it has very interesting people on the podcast. They do talk a lot about health, mental health, physical health. They talk about different aspects on how to become a better person. He invites, I guess his name is Steven, if I'm not mistaken. He invites different people. Very interesting. It's a great podcast if you want to just get a different take on whatever topic you are interested in. Recently, there was some kind of, I'm not even sure it turned out to be a big deal, but some people were trying to ask questions about them noticing him pushing health a lot. If there's some bias to it, if there's some promotion to it, I don't know. I'm not here for that. I'm here to actually present this episode. And when I listened to it, honestly, I found that there is so much truth. I picked on things that, you kind of know, but when you hear it again, you're just like, okay, yes, I need to key in more on that. You hold yourself accountable the moment you listen to these topics again. And on my podcast, we want to have fun. We want to do some reaction clips, but mainly it's about learning. It's about responsibility. It's about accountability. And the best way to start is to hold yourself accountable before trying to point figures at other people. Anywho, let's get started.
Person where you are reactive, there's a board. Shut the fuck up. Because if you're looking to be respected, you need to manage yourself. Like, there are times that people are going to cross and disrespect you.
Well, how do you deal with it?
So there was a guy post that started intelligence communities, and it really, really helps when you're dealing with people. And so one of the ways you deal with that kind of behavior is
it's a former Secret Service agent turned human behavior expert.
for protecting
Okay, I need to skip the intro. Let's stop.
Anything for us. When you think about the books that you've written, the content you produce, and all that you're fundamentally doing for people, in your own words, how do you summarize or define that? What is it that you think you're doing for people with the content, the books you've written, etc.?
It's a great question, and I don't know if I have a clear answer. I think about how am I serving other people. I always go back to that. I remember even when I wrote my book, Becoming Bulletproof, actually my book was supposed to launch right at the height of COVID. I mean, it's when the world was shutting down. And I remember I had a PR person, my agent, the publishers, everyone's like, hey, this COVID thing is happening. All the media tour glitz went away. Why don't we postpone the launch of the book? And nobody was advising me to launch the book. Nobody. Everyone's like, don't do it. And I remember I was like, all right, I need to kind of tune everybody out. And I paused and I thought to myself, why did I write this book? I wrote this book to help people. Okay, so if the goal is to help people, make them more resilient, help them live less fearlessly, the world right now is in a state of fear. So if I follow that principle, then right now I should launch the book. And I remember against everybody's advisement, I launched it.
And when you get DMs from people in private messages, what is it, the essence of what they're coming to you for?
So I was surprised with my book where people began writing in, I'm dealing with this problem. Your book helped me find a way out. Or I'm dealing with this. Can you give me guidance on how to deal with it?
What is the essence of what they're struggling with?
It's always themselves. It's not the world around you. I get it to some extent, but it's almost always we're the problem. We either sabotage ourselves, we get in the way, we make decisions, or we think I didn't do anything. Everything's cause and effect. Anytime you say, do, act, or don't act, it has a consequence or an effect to it. And I think sometimes we're so blasé about it. In the Western world, the science shows that we actually downplay our faults. When we make a mistake, it's not that big of a deal. We downplay our stuff, and we actually lift up our positive attributes. It's okay, but to a point, because when you downplay things, and you downplay your involvement, you downplay your choices, you downplay what role you play in your life, then you really are essentially powerless, and you're blaming the world. And I'm not saying that other people can't harm you. They will. They just will. I think if people make peace with the fact that there are bad actors out there, some I know, some I don't know, and in pursuit of their self-interest, people are going to make choices that hurt me, period, bar none, the end. If you can live with that and understand that, you will be okay, because you just have more awareness. In fact, when I did polygraphs, the interview room, after I interviewed so many people, and typically I would interview suspects, people that we suspected committing a crime. So
Lie detector tests.
Lie detector test. But I was a lie detector, not the machine. A lot of people think you hook that thing up, oh, ping, they're lying. No. Like, you sit there, you assess people, you read people. What the polygraph does is it tells you when you ask a series of questions to this person. I hook Steven up, I ask him a series of several questions. I look to see what Steven's autonomic nervous system is doing. Heartbeat, right? Does that change? Your electrodermal activity, how much you sweat. Your breathing, the way you breathe. So that's why you have the blood pressure cuff, you have the electrodermal plates, which actually look at sweating. It's imperceptible to you, but the plates will pick up sweating, the sweating activity, the change in breathing. So if I'm asking you a series of questions, I'm looking at how your body deviates during those questions. You even have sensors, because sometimes people try to beat the polygraph. And so there's sensor pads that we have to see if they're doing certain movements or not. I personally don't think you can beat it. But again, the test itself means nothing. You can't take it to court. You can't say, judge, they failed their polygraph. That's not what it's there for. It's there to get more information. And look, who are you, if you're lying, who are you really in judgment of? Yourself. That's why your body's reacting.
A second ago, you talked about how victims stay victims. And this whole idea of becoming a bulletproof person, because regardless of what we do in our lives, bad things are going to happen. We're going to encounter narcissists and people that are looking to take advantage of us. There's a certain mental fortitude that you exude. You exude a certain type of mental resilience and strength, what is the foundation? And I think that's really critical, because if you have that strong internal foundation, then everything else we're probably going to talk about today becomes much easier and possible. But without that strong foundation, when the wind blows, the house falls over. So if we think about step one in building that strong mental fortitude foundation that you have, where does one begin? And especially if we're beginning from a very, very bad place, we're beginning from a place of victimhood, bad things have happened, we're not the most confident person.
It starts with who's around you. That's where it starts. If you have people around you, anybody can break victimhood. Like, anybody can. You can. So I want to put that out there. Just because you're locked in a place doesn't mean you have to stay in there. You can. But usually if you're locked in somewhere, it's because the system you have around you, that you also help create and perpetuate to some degree, we're not completely innocent. We play a role. The system that is built around you keeps you, think of it this way, it keeps you in jail. So you have to look at your environment and say, what about my environment is keeping me here? Usually it's a person or people. Hopefully it's one and you're not dealing with multiple. Now, it can be family, and that's where, when you deal with children and you deal with certain, crimes and abuse. I always feel like the one population of people that truly have, like, I don't want to say excuse, but it's really not their fault, are kids. Because they're just so vulnerable, and they rely on you for their livelihood. They need somebody to feed them, clothe them, take care of them, or they can't survive. However, if as you age, right, as you mature, it's looking at your environment, who's around me and who is keeping me here. It becomes hard? It becomes hard because you'll have let's say, I'm going to use this term, bad actor in your life. That bad actor can be mom, dad, sibling, brother, it can be anybody. You can love that bad actor, but the choices and the things that person does impacts you. It makes you more vulnerable. Even if you just look at crime, they've done a lot of different studies, and what they found is, even let's say if I don't commit crime, but I'm around other people who commit crime, I am more likely to be shot than any other population of people. I could not be involved in any nefarious activity at all. I could be clean, but simply because of who I associate with, that makes me more vulnerable to being to becoming a victim. So that's where you start. Who's around you? Now, other really important things, whoever you pick for your companion, if you have one, it's huge. That companion's either going to raise you up or they're going to sink your ship down.
And is that in the real world? Best friends, husbands, wives?
If we're talking, I would say first, intimate partner, whatever that is to you, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that is, companion. That's number one, because that's the person. Here's the difference between a partner and a friend. Your friend goes home to their home. You go to your home. A companion or partner, you probably live with them. That means you are so overly exposed to that person, and you need to make damn well sure that person is not contaminating your life. You can still love them, but you can step back and look at, there's a problem here, that this person's stuff is contaminating my life. And it's a hard thing to do for folks, because this is why you're with someone, it's like, okay, I'm with Evie, but Evie is this and Evie is that. And so you start to blend my identity with my behavior. And then over the time too, you normalize the things I do if I'm a bad actor. Well, Evie didn't mean it. She's always hot-headed. She's this, but she did all these nice things for me here. And then what we do is we miss stuff. That's why it's easier for you to look at somebody else's relationship and be like, hey, problem here, problem here, problem here. Because you are not tainted by the emotional aspect of being tied to that person. You're able to look at them objectively. This is why, Byron, it's easy to give other people advice. I can see the red flags and the issues in this person. When you're in it, you can't. It's hard. So I would also venture to say, people may not like this. If you're with someone and there are people around you that legitimately care and love you, and they're telling you, hey, not the best thing for you, I would say please listen, because they are seeing something that you might not be seeing.
Do you think people just tend to know? Like, in their gut, they tend to know, but they justify the person's behavior, and they almost kind of gaslight themselves to some degree. They say, well, maybe not, maybe that's fine, maybe they are a friend, maybe they're just doing that for my best interest, whereas really that bad actor is acting in their interests and kind of gaslighting you, and then you're gaslighting yourself.
I think it's... One thing is, you don't go from 0 to 100 overnight. When you're in a relationship or you're around people who are like that, in the beginning, you don't see it, right? Everyone's got their best behavior. But over time, you'll start to see little, like sneak peeks, little previews. And it's those previews you want to pay attention to. We like to give people the benefit of the doubt. We listen to the excuses that they give us. And there's this ancient Greek saying that says, don't listen to your opponent. Look at them. It will tell you everything. And when I say look at them, look at what people do. I need you to drum out what they're telling you. I need you to drum out their I am sorries, because they probably are. They've hurt you, and they are probably genuinely sorry. That's not the point. The point is, when do you want to learn your lesson? In the beginning or at the end? And at the end, sometimes it's very, very, very hard. I have a community, and I started after I did the book, and when people started writing in, I said, let me do this community. I'll call it Beyond the Bulletproof, and whoever signs up, and 2 years in, I have 800 members, and a lot of people come in with different scenarios, and they'll come in with, and it's almost always the scenario they come in with, if there's something like this, it's somebody that they're tied to that's just sinking them. And sometimes they're the sinker, and they think it's the other person. So sometimes you're the bad actor, and you don't even realize it. So you need to figure...
That's the part I was hoping to get to. Sometimes you are the bad actor, and you don't even realize it. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, okay, now you are listening to this, fine, all good, but what is the point? I wanted to use this episode to speak not only to myself, but hopefully to people out there. There are some key points that I picked out, even though I'm not connecting it to crime or, in that manner. I think overall in life, and especially if you want to connect this to relationships, it is so valuable. And the most meaningful relationship is, I guess, the one you have to yourself. So let me introduce some of the points that I want to speak on. Hopefully I will manage to talk on all of them. So one that I heard, and I think all of them are very, very important, is that, there's some people that you love, but you might have to let go. You definitely need to have to let them go. There's no other choice. You're needing to let them go. Another thing that I heard out is you will definitely get hurt. And I loved how she explained it. If you can accept that as truth, a fact of life, things are going to be easier. That you are definitely going to be hurt by other people. You're going to be hurt by other people in pursuit of their own interest. Okay? Now just take it for what it is. This doesn't mean the intentional, I'm going to hurt you. This is just in pursuit in general. There's not even a negative intention to it, that the person might not even come across and say, I want to hurt you. But there is a possibility that you will get hurt when you are with someone, you meet someone, you are involved with other human beings, you move in certain circles, your friends, your family members at work, whoever and whatever. People have their own interests, people pursue their own interests, and it can happen that you meet someone and they might hurt you. Now, take away the purposefully or not, just accept that. And that is something that I really need to speak to myself to actually understand on a different level. Like, this has nothing to do with taking it personal, right? I think most of the times I like to think of myself, yeah, I get this, I understand this concept, but no, I'm not really sure that is something that I have fully internalized and fully accepted as a fact of life. Another one that I listened and I kind of have it as a question is, when she said your body reacts when you lies, with the example of the lie detector test and how they're trying to, catch how maybe your heart rate changes or your blood pressure changes, all that good stuff. That's a fact. I'm asking myself, are there moments in our lives where that happens to us, right? You lie to yourself, you're not really genuine, you're not really honest to yourself. Maybe sometimes it's not even bad intention, because if anyone has a people pleasing characteristics around them, it can happen that you would put yourself in a position to please someone else. Like it or not, that is also lying to yourself. And I wonder, does our body react to that as well? And if it does, do we just ignore it? Have I been ignoring it? Does that make sense? I would really like to key on that. And another one that I think I picked out was breaking victimhood. Now, I love that because there's someone in my life that I got to meet and learn that does not accept victim mentality at all. And I remember the first time meeting that person, I took it as, ooh, this person is tough and harsh. And that has nothing to do per se with me. Just that's how they would treat everyone. Like, just get off with that victim mindset, move on, don't. And it is harsh. But over time, what I remember learning is the strength in it. And instead of being stuck, and I know there's some situations where you are just stuck, especially when there's pain involved. But in general, if you just decide to accept it and you stay stuck, there's no other outcome. So if there's a way to break that, isn't that beautiful? I really, even for my personal life, really want to implement that more. I think there are ups and downs. Sometimes you're just, things are going well and you're bold and you're, everything is just making sense. You're making the right choices. But I think also sometimes in life, things happen and they weigh you down, and it can happen that you find yourself being stuck in that. And before you know it, you've adapted the victim mindset. And that doesn't mean that what happened to you or how you're feeling is invalid or didn't occur. But I think it's more about how you choose to deal with it, how you choose to move on, and how long you decide to sit in the being stuck instead of moving on. So, yeah, I think I said that one. You can love someone, but you need to let them go. Oh, another one that is so important, and that is one that I would also really point out to myself, actually, right? To look at what people do. Now, this goes along with how you love people, how you can love someone, love people, family member, friends, people you get to know, relationship, whoever. And yes, you love them so much, but there's certain actions over time, repetitive, that actually hurt you. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to choose to keep looking away. And oh, sometimes it's tough. Like, I think if I would watch a video and strangers and I would pick a moment like that, I would be so easy to comment and say, yeah, well, just let that person go, right? But if we're all honest to ourselves, it is not easy to create space, distance, or boundaries for someone that you've loved and allowed so much and now suddenly want to kind of redraw and take back. But I think for me personally, giving the kind of person I am and certain characteristics that I have, just I think most people have that. And one of it is like just wanted to see the benefit of the doubt. Like just I want to see the good in people. I want to give another chance. I want like, I always come across like, we all make mistakes, whatnot. But to be honest, what happens is I just keep hurting, 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 hurting. People keep pressing on that whatever you've allowed them, that behavior that they have, you know, kept on showing repetitively, but all in the name of love. You're hurting and you're also allowing bad behavior, right?